Are you struggling with Remnant 2's Apocalypse difficulty? Do you want a build that's going to turn Apocalypse mode into easy mode? Introducing the Chemical Soldier. Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and today we're going to be going over my new Chemical Soldier build for Remnant 2. And if you couldn't tell by the name of this build, we're going to be using a lot of status effect damage to just absolutely melt the competition. So this build will be utilizing Ritualist, obviously, and also Engineer. Now I know there's probably heaps of status effect builds online, but none of those really use Engineer class at all. The ones that are there are really friggin' awesome Engineer builds, but there's not a lot of them. It's kind of like a niche class anyway, but I'm hoping to maybe add to that already awesome catalog of engineered builds. So what makes this build so strong and enjoyable to play? Well, we have some amazing damage with status effects. We're able to get up to 3 to 4 of each status effect onto the target, except for bleed. We do have fantastic mod generation with the Stone and Malevolence. You know, this is just a no-brainer with just about any build that you want to use to get mod power back quicker. So we're always able to keep our mods topped up, never really have to worry about it, even though we're not using Archon. This build is very flexible with your weapon options. Obviously, the Sparkfire Shotgun is going to be the way to go. It's going to be no-brainer here because we're able to apply so many status effects with it. But you can go ahead and kind of slot in just about anything you want as long as it does have mod slots open. Now, the only two negatives I can think of for this build is we are lacking a bit of defense. We've gone all out on damage, and I feel like you can kind of do this once you are familiar with the game and the enemy attack patterns. And then the other negative is the turret. If you stand in between the turret and an enemy, you're gonna friggin' know about it. That mofo is gonna blast you into the Shadow Realm. The turret can definitely get you screwed in a couple of really tight areas. But yeah, as long as you just get familiar with where the turret's shooting, you should be absolutely fine. In more times than none, he's gonna save your ass. But yeah, he can get you killed. So be wary of that. All right, I've rambled on long enough. So let's just jump straight on to what we're actually using in this build. So of course we're using the Ritualist and we're using the Engineer classes. Kind of two classes you don't really see together, but I thought the Engineer would be a good pair up with the Ritualist, seeing as the Engineer's skill, the Flamethrower turret, is able to apply fire status effects for us and also just deal fire damage, which I thought would be really good when you're trying to, you know, maybe build a status effect damage build. So for Ritualist, we are using Miasma. You can use Eruption. Miasma is the lazy version. Eruption is a bit more intuitive. Just pick and choose whatever you want. They're both very, very viable for this build. I just like Miasma because it's more of the lazy option. And then obviously for the Engineer skill, like I just mentioned, we are using the Heavy Weapon Flamethrower. Now for the gear, you can just go ahead and put on whatever you want, obviously, but I have gone with like the Knotted Helm, the Crimson Guard plate, the Crimson Guard legs, Sabatons, I didn't even know that's what they were called, and then also the Leto Mark 1 gloves, just trying to get as much defense as strong back trait allows us to. Now for the relic, I have gone with the Shielded Heart, arguably one of the strongest hearts in the game. For the upgrades I have put into the heart, I have got increased armor, increase to range crit damage, and also increase to elemental damage. Now for the weapons, guys, one weapon that I think you kind of do need for this build, and it is the Big Daddy Sparkfire Shotgun. This is just amazing for status effect builds because if you kit it out exactly how I've got it here, you apply fire damage, shock, and also corrosive damage all in basically one shot. It is just absolutely insane, very, very strong for a status effect build. Like I said, you can use whatever you want though. Don't just limit yourself to the Sparkfire Shotgun if you don't like using it. You can still just use whatever, but make sure that your mod is an element. And then Feeded Wounds, I think, is definitely going to be a must on any of your long guns. But obviously, if you want to get the most amount out of your damage, this setup with the Sparkfire Shotgun is the way to go. And for the melee weapon, absolutely no surprise here. We're using the Krell Axe. The Krell Axe is just so insane for any kind of elemental status effect build that you're trying to do. Mainly because you can throw the fucking thing. You can throw it and it just applies shock damage. It's so strong, the Krell Axe. And I've also kitted this out with the Tainted Blade Mutator. This is going to let your charge melee throws apply corrosive damage instantly, which is very, very strong, especially with the status effect damage build. And then last but not least, we do have the Tech 22 handgun here. Again, you can put in whatever you want. Just make sure that you have a mod slot like available. So you can put on Creeping Mist. Now, Creeping Mist is the way to go when you want to use status effects. All you have to do is shoot this thing out and it is going to make your status effect damage deal 25% more damage, which is absurd when you're already stacking and building into that. And then on top of that, all the enemies in the mist are going to have a 5% increased chance to get a critical strike on them. So that is very nice to have as well. And then for the mutator, we do have twisting wounds. This is going to be the only way we're able to apply bleed. Wouldn't focus too much on it, but when you do start getting the flow of this build, it is nice to pull out the Tech 22, spray a whole bunch of bullets into the enemy, and you're going to be able to apply that bleed, and then you can just have more status effects ticking on the target, and it's going to die that much quicker. But the main thing you need on the Tech 22 or whatever handgun you choose to use is Creeping Mist. Once you get all your status effects out, use Miasma to apply more status effects, and then you shoot Creeping Mist. The enemies just cook. They are cooking. Vroom. They're dead. They're absolutely gone. Goodbye, see you later. And because of the Ritualist Prime perk that spreads status effect as enemies die with status effect, you can kind of just shoot one enemy, just bugger off, and they're all just going to like die from status effect damage eventually. Now moving on over to the jewelry, the main course, obviously this dictates how your build actually works. So for the necklace or the amulet, we have gone Sinister Totem. So this is just going to increase our status effect damage by 50%. So because we're able to apply so much status effect and consistently apply status effect, they're always going to have 50% increased damage, which is insane when you start stacking a lot of status effect. To help us get more stacks of status effect, we're also using the Red Ring of Death. This is just going to duplicate the last outgoing negative status effect to the enemy. It does reduce our outgoing status effect by 10%, but it doesn't matter. Like having one full additional status effect ticking on the enemy is going to outdo that 10% damage reduction. We've gone with Timekeeper's Jewel. This is going to help our status effects tick for even longer, so we don't have to worry about trying to refresh them so often, which also gives you more damage in the long run, especially when you pair up with the Band of Fanatic. The Band of Fanatic increases our status effect damage by 25%, but it reduces the status effect duration by 65%. So this really cuts your status effect duration time by a lot. So that's why I've got the Timekeeper's Jewel here, just to help mitigate what the Band of Fanatic does, but also still give us that 25% damage increase. But Timekeeper's Jewel definitely helps the build synergize a lot better, especially with some of my testing. Now next up we have the Stone of Malevolence ring. Now this is a mandatory ring, especially for bosses. You're going to get your overflow back on your Sparkfire shotgun quicker, which is going to give you more damage output because you're going to be able to fire faster. You got a new status effect to apply on the target. You're also going to be able to get Creeping Mist back really quick, almost instantaneous, because you just shoot it out and you don't have to, you know, wait for the duration to finish. It's just an instantaneous mod, so you can instantly get the mod power back for that as soon as you start using your Sparkfire shotgun, as soon as the turret starts laying down fire on the enemy as well. And then the best thing is your flamethrower works insanely well with Stone of Malevolence. Even if you're not using your Sparkfire shotgun, you got this bad boy out. He's going to be hitting the enemies with fire damage and also replenishing your mod power. Very nice little synergy to actually have, especially in boss fights. Now moving on over to the traits, guys, I do have 8 into ammo reserve. I've maxed out Flashcaster. This is a must because it's going to let you put your turret down a hell of a lot quicker, and that downtime is going to get you screwed. So Flashcaster is a must. I have put 10 points into Fortify. I have gone 8 points into Strongback, just let us wear a bit more heavier armor to have better defense. I've gone 4 points into Tri-Age. I've gone 10 points into Vigor, 8 points into Endurance. I've put 3 points into Spirit. I put 5 points into Expertise. I've gone 5 points into Amplitude because it's going to make Creeping Mist bigger and also the explosion radius on our turret a little bit bigger. Maxed out Bark Skin for that 10% damage reduction. 5 points in the weapon handling because we're using a shotgun. And of course, the last 10 points have gone into Siphoner so we can have some lifesteal. Alrighty guys, so I got another full boss clip for you guys, because what better way to see build working than to actually see it in action. So we are going to be killing the Root Nexus. Now the Root Nexus isn't a particularly hard boss, but I thought it would be a really good boss to show this build working on, because there is a lot of adds and you can get easily overwhelmed, but that does not matter when you have a good status effect damage build. So first up, I went and used my Tech 22 to try and get all of those stacks of Sinister Totem up really quickly, so then our status effect damage does the most amount of damage possible. Right now, just trying to take down the adds so I'm not getting overwhelmed. As you can see, they die very quickly when you have status effect damage ticking them down. Right now we have the big boy coming over. I'm just using the shotgun like a sniper, because all we need to do is just apply status effect damage to him. Now while we're taking him on, as you can see, Root Nexus is just cooking. absolutely cooking from stats effect damage and is literally about to die right now. So now we're going to have the aberration spawn. Again, I'm just using my tech 22 to get bleed out there and also keep those stacks of sinister totem up at all time. The aberration here, things get a little messy. Things are a little messy. I'm getting a little stressed out, worried that I might not actually do this. I'm like, it's a pretty good run. Come on, let me have it. So I'm getting a little sloppy here. You're probably going to play this far better than me. I'm like, look, I'm just rolling into friggin' root rot explosions right now. Like, what an idiot. But we do get the job done because status effect damage is just that strong. As you can see, I'm just rolling away and the aberration eventually just ticks away. I didn't even have to do anything. Status effect damage is just so OP inside of Remnant 2. And that is how you turn Apocalypse mode into easy mode, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that simple. And that is basically it for the build video, guys. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. Again, I am kind of new to Remnant 2. I know I've put like nearly 200 hours into the game, but I am still trying to wrap my little noodle around everything, trying to get familiar with everything. There's still like a whole bunch of stuff I haven't gotten yet. It's just insane how many secrets are in this friggin' game. Hopefully the build video did help you guys out. I had a lot of fun putting this together. It's definitely a lot stronger than the Void Butcher. I do enjoy the Void Butcher. You're a bit more defensive. It has a little bit more synergy. This is all just kind of like apply status effect, enemy dies. Like that's all you got to do. It's kind of a lazy build, but it's a build that definitely works and it just absolutely shreds through every bit of Apocalypse content this game has to offer. Appreciate all love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe, peace out.